What if one day we decided to heal the earth not with machines, but with trees? Imagine planting roots in every street, every rooftop, every forgotten corner of the world. The deserts would begin to whisper again, and the soil would remember how to grow. Rain would return to places that hadn't felt it in years, and the wind would carry life. Every city would breathe differently, shaded by branches instead of concrete towers. Villages would bloom with color, and the air would taste cooler, sweeter, and alive. Grass would soften the edges of war-torn lands, and vines would climb over broken walls. Children would play under real shade, not plastic roofs or metal sheets. Hospitals would see fewer breathing masks and fewer warnings about toxic air. Because the cure was never hidden. It was always waiting in the soil. Imagine a world where highways curve around forests instead of cutting through them, where buildings are wrapped in green and every window opens to a garden. The temperature would begin to fall, not just in degrees, but in tension and urgency. Heat waves would lose their grip, and storms would soften into gentle rain. Floods would slow, and seasons would find their rhythm again, like a song remembered. The noise of cities would fade beneath birdsong, and silence would feel sacred again. People would walk slower, breathe deeper, and listen more to each other and to nature. Trees would become our storytellers, rooted in the past and reaching for the future. They would stand tall through generations, watching us grow beside them. And in their shade, we would remember what it means to belong to the earth. The soil would grow stronger, holding water like memory and feeding roots like hope. Carbon would sink into the ground, and oxygen would rise into the sky like a prayer. The planet would finally exhale after centuries of holding its breath in silence. Animals would return to places they had abandoned, and balance would begin again. Bees would dance between flowers, and butterflies would trace new paths through air. The climate would shift gently, like a wound healing instead of a storm raging. People would feel different, less rushed, less angry, more grounded and aware. Mental health would improve because green calms the mind in ways medicine cannot. Trees don't judge, they just stand and listen, offering peace without asking anything. Imagine planting a tree and knowing it will outlive you, sheltering someone you'll never meet. What if every school had a forest and every prison had a garden to soften its walls? Hospitals would grow groves of healing, and borders would be marked by trees, not fences. Conflicts would cool beneath canopies, and empathy would grow in shared shade. Nations would speak through roots instead of weapons, and diplomacy would feel human. We would learn from trees how to bend without breaking, and how to grow slowly but surely. The economy would shift toward green industries, and jobs would bloom in restoration. Farming would become regenerative, feeding both people and the planet with care. Cities would compete in canopy coverage instead of skyscraper height. Tourism would change. People would travel to breathe, to walk, to feel, not just consume. Art would evolve. Poets writing about leaves, painters chasing light through branches. Musicians would sample birdsong, and filmmakers would frame stories in forests. Technology would adapt. Solar panels shaded by trees, smart cities powered by nature. Innovation would root itself in biology, learning from ecosystems instead of algorithms, and the planet would begin to trust us again, not because we said sorry, but because we changed. Every seed planted would be a promise, every root a declaration of care. What if planting trees wasn't a campaign, but a culture, a habit, a reflex? What if it was normal to carry seeds in your pocket and leave life wherever you go? The future would look different, greener, kinder, more breathable and balanced. And the past would finally rest, knowing we chose to heal instead of just survive. The earth is ready, the soil is waiting, and the future is listening for our answer. Imagine planting trees in abandoned lots, turning forgotten spaces into sanctuaries. Imagine vines climbing old factories and flowers blooming through cracked sidewalks. Imagine every neighborhood having a community forest, a place to gather and grow. Imagine elders telling stories beneath trees they planted as children. Imagine children planting trees they'll never see fully grown and still believing in them. The cycle would begin again, not of destruction, but of restoration and renewal. We would stop measuring progress in concrete and start measuring it in canopy. We would stop chasing speed and start honoring stillness, rooted in the present. The air would carry less smoke and more scent of jasmine, of pine, of rain. The sky would reflect green from below, and the stars would shine through cleaner air. We would build homes that breathe, walls that grow, and cities that feel alive. We would design with nature, not against it, and beauty would return to our streets. The sound of leaves rustling would become part of our daily rhythm. The sight of birds nesting would feel like a blessing, not a rarity. We would teach children to plant before they speak, to grow before they consume. We would teach them that trees are not decoration. They are foundation. Every tree would be a monument, not to power, but to patience and care. Every forest would be a temple, not of worship, but of wisdom and humility. We would stop fearing nature's wrath and start earning its grace. We would stop asking for more and start giving back, one root at a time. Imagine planting trees on rooftops, turning skylines into jungles of hope. Imagine planting trees in refugee camps, offering shade where there was only dust. Imagine planting trees in cemeteries, letting life rise where memory sleeps. Imagine planting trees in parking lots, replacing engines with ecosystems. Imagine planting trees in prisons, letting roots soften concrete hearts. Imagine planting trees in malls, letting shoppers pause beneath real leaves. Imagine planting trees in classrooms, letting learning happen in living spaces. Imagine planting trees in hospitals, letting healing happen in harmony. Imagine planting trees in airports, letting travelers breathe before they fly. Imagine planting trees in every place we forgot to care about. The transformation wouldn't be instant, but it would be unstoppable. The change wouldn't be loud, but it would be lasting. The impact wouldn't be measured in likes, but in leaves, and the legacy wouldn't be ours alone. It would belong to every living thing. We would become gardeners of the future, caretakers of time, stewards of breath. We would remember that we are not separate from nature. We are part of it. We would remember that healing the earth heals us too. And we would finally understand that planting a tree is never a small act. It is a revolution in slow motion. It is a promise that tomorrow will be better than today.